What's up, YouTube? If you're watching this, then you're watching my VOD review of G2 vs Fnatic Game 5. I welcome you. However, you're not here live with the Twitch chat, which means that you're missing out. It's a shame, really, because the Twitch chat asks such thought-provoking questions. Like, questions that would reshape the way in which we view the world as we know it. Questions such as, why do we have 4 fingers and not 5? And also other questions such as, what are clouds really made of? You know, you could be part of the conversation at twitch.tv/Vedius official. Normally, I would say we stream every Monday at 6 p.m. CEST, but that would be a lie. Yeah, I haven't streamed for a while. Anyway, we're back, sort of, and here we are, Game 5. First question everyone's going to be like is, why aren't you doing Games 1 to 4? Truth is, no one watches that. You're only here for Game 5, don't lie to me. So that's the only game we're doing. Get over it. Right. Wait. Did I miss something? There are a bunch of people using emotes. No. We're good. We're good. What's up, chat? Let's go. Right. I have my pen. Hello. We're all happy. Smiley face. Let's get into it. Now, the only problem is I have actually cast this game already. Boop, boop, boop. Right. But it doesn't matter because I've forgotten what happens, if I'm being totally honest. All right. So, the bans, you're probably really confused right now. You're like, this doesn't make any sense. Obviously, it's context dependent because there are 4 other games. You should have watched those before you're here for the VOD review, idiot. So the purpose of the Evelyn ban and the Hecarim ban is to try and put Selfmade on a champion that he can't carry on. Unfortunately for G2, they failed to do this because he's going to pick a champion that he still carries on. The Nautilus ban is because this champion's been really obnoxious. I think that... So the problem is... G2 don't want to first pick Nautilus, right? But if they don't ban it, then Fnatic's just going to pick it here. Because they're going to first pick Ashe, right? And then they're going to do Senna plus Naut, right? That's just what will happen if they don't ban it. So they have to ban it. Because they clearly don't care about Thresh, because they have things that they can play into Thresh. Tahm Kench being one of them. Right. So, Ashe gets locked in, unsurprisingly, and then Fnatic, usual Kai'Sa hover, into the Senna, plus what would normally be a Nautilus, won't be this time, and I think they actually go for the Lucian here. Oh, I explained the G2 bans, I didn't explain the Fnatic ban. So, Caitlyn and Kalista. Caitlyn is a perma red side ban. She kind of needs to get nerfed before Worlds, otherwise we're going to have the same Pantheon problem that we had, where she's just always banned on this side. I think only North America actually don't ban her. I think I saw 2 Caitlyn games yesterday. Yeah, but Kalista is a specific target ban's perks. Fnatic have a tendency of banning Kalista anyway. They really don't like letting this champion open. And you really don't want to give this to perks. Now, the Yuumi ban, the purpose of the Yuumi ban is because Lucian plus Yuumi Cat is a really strong combo, right? But Fnatic don't want to ban Lucian because they want the potential of picking Lucian themselves. So instead they ban the Cat to dissuade G2 from picking it. Now, of course, G2 lock in the Ashe, so there's no way that they'll play Lucian bot lane. But there is the potential risk of them picking him mid, which obviously they don't right here. So Fnatic could look to lock in the Lucian now if they wanted to. But as we said, Senna locked in. And then Fnatic go for the Thresh. So it's not the Nautilus, it is the Thresh. Still kind of does everything that Hylissang wants to do, so this is fine. Very meta, very standard. So G2 normally would do Set and then LeBlanc, right? So I was talking about in the draft that I think that G2 actually could have considered a Tahm here. The reason why is because I think Tahm inherently does very well into this, and I also think that Ashe Tahm is actually a very strong 2v2, even at level 1. Tahm, like... A lot of people don't appreciate how powerful Tahm is in the 2v2 just because of how like his passive stacks up, the amount of damage he can do. He's really strong. So they had the option there, and they could have done Ornn later to act as an engage if they wanted to. But they've also got Set to kind of start off fights as well. So, but they go for the LeBlanc so that they get Caps on a comfort pick, and it doesn't matter what they play because, you know, Caps very good at this champion. So I think Fnatic respond with the Lucian here. Yep. So Lucian's pretty solid into LeBlanc because, so, fun fact, mages, right? Oh, whoops, mages. mages in lane are gated by cooldowns. So usually when you're playing, that doesn't look at the cooldowns. Ignore this. So basically when you use an ability, there's a window with which you can then trade back on the mage. Pardon me. AD carries are not gated by such a problem because they rely on their auto attacks, right? Of course, Lucian also has cooldowns with things like his Q, but he's always going to hit harder than a LeBlanc is, which means that there are more windows with which Lucian can trade into most mages, which is what makes him such an oppressive laner. It was the same thing with Tristana. And it's the same with like most AD carry mid laners, right? Which is why generally AD carries in mid lane can be very oppressive. Of course, the problem with AD carries is that they usually just build flat damage, and at one item, usually mages are stronger because most AD carries need like 2 or 3, especially with Lucian, who goes to the Manamune. A LeBlanc with Ludens is probably going to be way scarier. But there are ways in which, of course, LeBlanc can trade when she does have her QWE combo up. Depending on where Lucian is in the lane and like what you can do, you can definitely win that matchup. So I would say that it's slightly Lucian favored, but there's ways in which you can outplay it if you're a very good LeBlanc player, which of course Caps is, which is usually why he's quite happy to blind pick it. So the Blitzcrank ban kind of a little weird, but I understand. Like it's pretty good into this, also quite good into Senna. The Lilia ban. So G2 now banning away AP junglers because Fnatic have locked in an AD mid laner. So they're going to ban Lilia and they're going to ban Karthus. Fnatic banning away. Ooh, I quite like the Morgana ban. I think it's difficult with this composition to be able to pop a black shield. And I think the CC reduction is also very good with the set as well. And of course it makes the Ashe lane much, much stronger. And then there's the Karthus. So here, Fnatic give counterpick for Bwipo, so the Gragas comes through, which is the AP jungler, so they mix their damage profile, which is fine. I think Gragas is also okay into set. I was obviously a little skeptical about Braum. I don't really like Mickey playing Braum because I think it gates a lot of what he's good at. Not to say that he's a bad Braum player, but I just think that when you think about how G2 win games, usually their bot lane is in a position of power, and I think that when you lock in Braum, you often concede the laning phase. Not always. Like, Ashe Braum is not necessarily a weak lane. And depending on, like, certain other factors, there are ways in which they can win that 2 versus 2. It also makes a lot of sense into this pick, into this pick. I think Thresh is fine into Braum. I wouldn't be too upset if I was a Thresh and I saw Braum on the other side, but the shield is really good against the culling, and it's really good against Gragas engage as well. So it basically makes life harder for Fnatic to actually start fights. Yeah. Now, the thing is, I thought that G2 was now lacking engage, so I suggested that maybe they should go for the Ornn. It was interesting hearing from Bwipo, because from his perspective, he thought that Ornn was a bit of a desperation pick, which surprised me, because I'm like, what else would they go here? Maybe they could go Camille. Maybe, but I still think that then it's much harder for them to actually start a fight. They also could have gone Gangplank themselves, but then again, Fnatic would get counterpick to the Gangplank. They also could have put Lucian top into the Gangplank, which then would have been really horrible. Where's my water? And then they lock in, GP on Fnatic side. Which I think it is good, because this does actually diversify your damage profile. Because the GP ultimate does magic damage, which is very strong. So comp-wise, Fnatic's comp is, let's think. I think that they can have prio and mid. I think that this is slightly Ornn favored. GP versus Ornn is a bit of a weird one because I've seen it go either way multiple times depending on who's playing it. My instinct says the Gangplank should win most matchups early, but it wouldn't surprise me if Ornn was able to just get early prio, especially seeing as you can just buy items very quickly early on. So yeah, this matchup is a bit weird one for me. And then in this lane again, I think there are a number of factors. So I think that I think the Thresh is what should actually give this lane prio. But it depends who gets there first. Depends what path both the junglers take. It depends what their game plan is early. Ashe's poke is actually pretty strong in the early game, and she obviously hits minions faster, so it should in theory be easier for her to wave clear. But here, Thresh at level 2 is much stronger than this. So I think So I think it's pretty interesting actually. All matchups can actually swing either way depending on a number of factors. One side will have to concede depending on where junglers start. But in terms of the overall comp, I think that this scales better. I think that when you have 280 carries in the late game, you just inherently have more damage. Things like Baron, Dragon are all good. Gangplank late game is also going to offer a little bit more than Ornn is. Obviously, Ornn is a very solid tank and can itemize quite well against double 80 carries. But I also think that LeBlanc gets harder to play the later the game goes, because she goes from being an assassin to like a poke champion where she's just looking to burst people out, and then you hope that the Ashe cleans up. Yeah, so I think the game gets harder to play the longer it goes on, because your also only reliable engage tool is the Ornn. Yeah. So basically what G2 want to do is they primarily want to play through Caps early, get him ahead, and then have him snowball through pretty much everywhere else. And then have Little Blanc so fed that like the double 80 carries don't really get an opportunity to be online. And then if one of these two gets shut down, then it's easy for G2 to snowball. Whereas Fnatic, I think, just want to sit back and scale because they know they have a stronger late game. I don't think that team fighting is easy because they don't have a reliable engage. So actually getting onto the back line is difficult, which gives Ashe a lot of free time. And again, the Braum is going to make it very difficult for Gragas to, in theory, flash on, dive, create a bunch of chaos. So I think both comps are actually quite interesting. There are pros and cons to both. I think Fnatic's biggest problem is they don't have a huge amount of agency. They could actually win 2v2 mid, but it depends on a few things. I would inherently give this 2v2 advantage over to LeBlanc and Set. So, yeah, right. That's general draft stuff. Alright. So, let's watch junglers in the early game. So it's very common for Set to start red and then go for a level 2 gank mid. Then they'll just burn their flash early. Trade flash for flash. And then you also set up the LeBlanc for success. But G2 go for the delayed invade, knowing that they have the stronger level 1. Especially with the Braum. Braum is really good for invades because of his passive. So they invade. They make Gragas' life a little harder. Pardon me. See, so he does the same thing with the level 2 play. Except he runs straight to mid rather than going from red to mid. Gragas was looking to do a split map where he trades for it. Jankos actually face checks here, which is obviously very dangerous because he doesn't have a ward. But seeing that Caps gets a fast level 2, Jankos commits to it. So again, you now have flash for flash, and now Nemesis has been zoned away from farm. He's level down. You're already in such a fantastic position. So as I was saying, level 1 Gangplank, like my expectation was the Gangplank should win very early levels, so he does get the prio. Okay, fine. I also know that Whip was a pretty good Gangplank, so I should have given it to that. But I have seen a bunch of Ornns like just win this matchup at level 1, and I'm like, wait, what? How? I don't like, there's probably something I don't understand about this matchup. So you can see LeBlanc gets the prio here. Bot lane's pretty neutral. Oh, we lost the minion HP bars for a little while. I remember this. We also had some audio issues too. So Gangplank, Gragas has only done topside camps right now, and so remember, like, this bot lane matchup can kind of swing. So right now, G2 actually have push because Gragas is forced to play topside of the map, which means that they don't have a jungler, so they're forced to play defensive. Of course, they can be a little bit more aggro now because jungler sees jungler, which is good for them. But they're both contesting over Scuttle, and basically Jankos is saying, like, I want double Scuttle, and he's going to get it because LeBlanc has prio. And the GP isn't moving down. He's actually just going to do a bit of a cheater recall. Very common. Going to go for the call. Level advantage for Fnatic bot lane, so they go for a good trade. But you can see how Lucian can actually get favorable trades, or it should be easy for him to get favorable trades depending on what LeBlanc does. Fnatic now look for a bot side play. They're thinking about a dive, but the wave wasn't in a great spot. I think they were a little too late if they wanted to make that dive happen. So I'm just watching what Caps does. I'm just watching Caps right now. So Lucian goes in. Yeah, Lucian just goes in and gets a good trade. So at this point, like you can see that Gragas wants to start moving down now because they want to try and zone the bot lane of G2 away from the tower so that they can look for a dive, look for a kill or whatever. But they're a little too slow. And I think right now Gragas' priority should just be on getting the Scuttle Crab, which is exactly what he does. So the TP's come back in mid lane. And now the Set is going to look for another gank mid. Remember that he burned his flash earlier. Set has Hex Flash, so he's going to use that to get the bonus movement speed. Use his Smite as well to make sure he keeps the bonus movement speed. And then they get a kill. So this whole setup is really good from G2 initially. From the delayed invade into blue buff. To try and deny the blue buff away from self-made, knowing that they have the stronger level 1 to be able to set up the invade into the early gank mid. I think that Nemesis could have got away, but the fact that Caps got level 2 meant that it was very easy for G2 to commit to the plate. So because they both had level 2 and Nemesis is only level 1, they force his flash, he loses it. He's then forced to push out the wave. Gragas has only just cleared Scuttle, so he can't come mid to help clear, which means that Nemesis is forced to overextend, and he ends up getting punished for it. So overall, really good early game from G2. And just a good demonstration of how G2 successfully are able to play through Caps and how Jankos is quite good at League of Legends. So Selfmade's now going to pick up some of the farm mid. Oh no, I'm so upset. I get all this free XP. Caps gets a recall now. Oh, a bit of trading in the bot lane. This wasn't great for Hillside. Oh, good sidestep from Perks there. Jankos now looking for a play bot and he's just going straight in. They don't have a deep ward for the TP. Oh, Reckless. They don't have a commit. Hook lands. TPs? No. Okay, let's have a look. I'm just watching the Lucian now. What does the Lucian do? So, of course, LeBlanc just resets, so LeBlanc has to catch this wave. Okay, so Lucian has a window. The pings immediately come down, which I think is why Jankos is like, nah, I'm out. Which is good. Good awareness. Good comms. Oh, they're still committing to this play. It's dangerous. Because Caps is going to move soon. Pings are coming down. They're like, do we see Caps? Okay, no we don't. We got to back off. Yep. Good from Fnatic. Good respect. Good awareness. But again, like, remember that Fnatic don't have to find any advantages early. I think they scale really well. And the fact that a lot more responsibility falls on G2 to actually find early advantages, which of course they have done. LeBlanc is sitting pretty comfortably right now. And because Nemesis is going for the Mana Mune, this Lucian spike is going to be delayed quite a lot. He's still doing fine in farm, but the gold advantage in LeBlanc's pocket is great for LeBlanc. Nemesis now has flash again. Jankos could look to ruin his day. I think Caps could set up a freeze here. Pardon me, surprised that he doesn't, honestly. Ooh, Reckless and Hilly came mid. Why did they do that? I suppose the wave was a bit awkward for them bot lane. I can't see the Ashe, but it looks like Ashe is actually holding. I don't know if that... Is that a slow push? Wait, one sec. No, they push it in. No. Okay, so you can see that the minion wave... Of course, my mouse... So if you look at the mini-map of the bot wave, that whole wave just crashed into the tower, which means that the wave will slowly push back in their favor. So I think this is a window where Ashe could have just hard pushed, but Ashe also knows that Reckless and Hilly are base right now. And they're going to be walking back to lane. So if he just hard pushes this, they can just then catch that wave and potentially freeze it here, which is awkward for him. So he's waiting for the next wave before he shoves. But also he's stacking up 2 waves. And if he stacks up 2 waves, then there's a possibility if G2 can get pushed here that they can actually look for a bot tower or look for a Drake as well. So a bit of wave management for you. So Reckless Hilly moves back to bot. They're going to catch this stacked wave. And this is a window where... Oh, excuse me. When I talk a lot, I yawn a lot. It happens when I cast too. I just have a cough button so you don't hear it. That's that stacked wave. So this is what I was talking about, where they could have considered a Drake. But they prioritized the blue buff over the Drake. So this is actually quite a late Drake. Often, if this was Rogue, Rogue would have actually swapped to top already, and they would have played for Herald. Yep, they would have just given this farm to Gangplank or some shit. Now they're just being... Oh, that's interesting. So G2 actually go for Herald here, knowing that they see enemy bot lane bot, and they didn't actually do the swap. They can actually get the subjective early. I mean, it's free, right? There was no contest over it. So now they head back to bot to catch the wave. Oh, that's pretty cool, actually. They just moved their bot lane into mid, in case Fnatic tried to contest for it, which they don't. Which is fine. I remember this play. Alright, so a couple things. So they know Thresh is in the river somewhere. So this is kind of troll for Mickey, to be honest, because, again, he knows that Hilly's in the river somewhere, and he doesn't have 6. So he gets the heal out from Perks. The exhaust also comes down. Hilly burns everything because he's going to die. And then a good flash in from Selfmade. This hook here, really insane from Hillsang, because Caps definitely would have killed Selfmade, 100%. But because the extra damage doesn't come through, Selfmade lives. And they end up trading 1 for 0. It's a good play from Fnatic. Well played by Hillsang. Wonder's in a bit of trouble right now. He could die. But the Observer's cut, which means he probably doesn't. Yep. Really insane hook from Hillsang. Really insane. Set should have body blocked, to be honest. Assuming he could have. So this is a very late first Drake. Very late. I think a large part of that is because it's very difficult for Senna Ashe lanes to actually get prior in the 2 versus 2. Especially with this kind of situation and where the junglers, what the junglers are doing early game. So Fnatic are going to start this one off. So, judging on the items. Wait, but Bwipo has TP. Wonder doesn't. I think this could be pretty bad for G2. Oh, it just came down to a literal smite fight. Damn. Nice smite. It's a very good smite. Just kind of looking, seeing what options both teams have right now. So Perks and Mickey, they kind of like don't have much left to be able to hold this wave. I'm not really sure like where Reckless got such a big advantage in the 2 versus 2. It might have just been because they were playing into a Thresh lane. Or Mickey got very lucky there. But yeah, the bot lane of G2 is forced to reset. So G2 just trade topside. They trade topside tower. Unfortunately, all the money goes into Wonder, which is not really where you want it. Pardon me. Ashe has ulti. You know, they could have killed Hilly there, by the way. I think. Problem is, they don't know where Gragas is. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. They do know where Gragas is. This is exactly why they don't do the play. Because I like Gragas' bot. So Lucian gets the blue. I'm pretty sure GP can't freeze top, yeah. So, like, this is often what you'll see a lot from G2, where, like, so they push in the wave top, and Wonder doesn't reset. He doesn't also need to, because he's on, and so he can just upgrade his own items. But then he moves down to cover the 1 lane here, and then the rest of G2 moves a 4-man unit bot. They use their waves pretty effectively, because they can guarantee a numbers advantage. Thresh resets, and then they're like, hey, we can play for bots. Senna, really good awareness from Reckless. He's like, Yo, they're probably coming here. Still ends up losing his flash, even playing that defensively. Yeah, very standard G2 play. Pokes wants to get that plate. He does get it, but it might kill him. Oh, it doesn't. Does cost Mickey his flash, though. Next flash, good ulti from Mickey there. If he gets hooked, he probably dies. Oh, I'm yawning so much. I'm so sorry. He's not even a one item yet. But you can see how afraid Nemesis is. He probably also sees Jankos right behind him. But I just want to highlight, look at this vision that G2 have. They've got wards literally all along here. And that's how they've used their prio. So they have good information on what Fnatic is up to, which is really good stuff. And again, so they spot Nemesis, which is why they can go for this pick. And then Nemesis is forced to flash. And now they get a red buff. Good stuff from G2. And now they commit to the GP. And this is where you get the Benny Hill stuff. Fnatic do the correct thing by trading, knowing that there's two members in mid. The Ornn is bot. Ornn already used his ultimate to try and clear the wave. Bwipo will end up dying, but he's wasting just so much time. Set is going to go get the Rift Herald, which is good, probably about the best thing he can do in this situation. But Bwipo's whole goal there was to just waste as much time as possible. But now, knowing that GP is dead, they could actually just go straight back to mid. That's also not the Benny Hill music, by the way. That's not the name of it. So I'm pretty sure they already took top tower. They pushed that wave in again. GP wants to try and set up a freeze. I don't know if he can though, especially with Drake spawning very soon. So he's probably just going to push that out and then rotate down. Yeah. But it looks like he's too late to opt for the objective, so he's just going to push it and threaten the tower instead, I think. Oh, and then Jankos fucks up here. So this is kind of weird. So here. So in an ideal world, Gangplank would love to just freeze the wave up here. Just be like, I'm going to take all this free farm, catch up a little bit to the Ornn. Already got my Trinity Force, but I want to keep upgrading my items. You know, got the cull that I need to sell as well. But Drake spawns soon. So the goal is not to challenge Drake because they're not going to be in a position to do it, but he may be able to trade top tower for Drake. So it's better than nothing, right? And Fnatic already have one Drake, so if they get this one, it's like, it's 4%, whatever, don't care. Right? They don't need to die for this Drake. Which is funny because, given that we just watched TL versus FlyQuest last night, one of TL's biggest problems was that they kept contesting all of these Drakes. And remember that Fnatic have a comp that they know outscales, so fighting here would be a mistake. And that was one of like the big criticisms that people had of Team Liquid last night, was that they would have a comp that did outscale, yet they were committed to fighting for all these Drakes. So like here's a cool contrast. Where you can see like Fnatic's like, hey, we don't need to fight this, we already have one, it's fine. If we give this one up, we can play for more Drakes later, and there's also an opportunity for us to get a little bit more map control elsewhere on the map. So they go for the cross-map play. It's very common, very standard. Like a lot of pro teams do this. It's not like Fnatic is inventing the wheel or anything crazy. So this is pretty cool from G2. Kind of catches Fnatic off guard because Fnatic now feels that they have control of the top side. Because, you know, they've got the GP pushing in this wave, they've got Gangplank up here, and they have the mid clear. The thing is, they don't realize or they don't recognize that Caps is sitting right behind, and there's the Ashe arrow. So as these two are moving, there's a very small window where G2 can actually look to attack. So they notice that the wards are getting cleared out here. They don't suspect this engage. And it's a good cleanse coming out from Reckless. If that hit Hylissang, he probably would have died instantly. But he gets the Senna ultimate. Braum gets... Oh, good exhaust coming out from Braum. I think Hylissang gets a last auto in that actually gets that kill onto... Oh, it's the GP ultimate plus Ignite, yeah. GPL plus Ignite. And then really good flashing from Jankos. Unfortunately, he doesn't stun anyone. He just drags them in. If he'd get a stun here, probably would have been easier for G2 to get a kill. But you can see how impactful this Gangplank ultimate is. Like, comes down, immediately forces Caps to disengage. And he does jump back in, use the chains to lock up Selfmade. And here, Jankos thinks that he's dead. So he doesn't actually finish it with an auto. So Rex is able to get away with the Lantern, which is a real shame. Because if they get hit that kill there, they could have actually... could they have considered a Baron? I don't know. But then Whipple kind of trolls a little bit here. He runs down. He's like, hey, this is actually a really good fight for us. Jankos is pretty low. But then he's like, wait a minute. Now I'm in between everyone. Fuck. L. And then he dies. And then he dies. So you're thinking at this point, okay, G2's actually like pretty comfortable now. They're getting a bunch of kills. Like, they're catching Fnatic off. They're getting, like, they've got an early Drake. They're probably going to get this mid tower as well. But they don't have a huge gold advantage, so Fnatic isn't, like, worried. But Fnatic, G2's like, okay, nice. This is good. We're going to get a completed item on Caps. We're chilling. We're happy. We're feeling great. Wow. Both Reckless and Hilly. Oh, yeah, and then Caps dies here, which is, like, Giga Troll. Really well played by... Oh, my God. The fact that he lands that, though. So Caps is thinking, right? He's like, boom, right? And he goes that side because he's like trying to catch Hylissang off. He probably knows that Hylissang's in there, but Hylissang predicts it. He does predict it, right? Yeah, look, he starts throwing it out and then it hits. It actually hits the ult, yeah. Maybe he doesn't predict it. Maybe Caps actually W'd into himself with his ultimate. Unlucky. Anyway. So Fnatic is now starting to scale up. I'm like, Baron at 70. Yeah, okay. Thank you, chat. Thank you. Yes, I recognize the Baron isn't alive yet. Yes. My bad. I think I said the same thing in the game too. I'm like, oh, they could look for a Baron here. I'm like, wait a minute, Baron's not alive. It feels much later into the game. Anyway, Fnatic have to be careful now because at this point in the game, G2 should just be stronger. Because Lucian is still like ramping up, Sen is still ramping up, but Blade of the Ruin King on the Ashe, Luden's Echo on LeBlanc, they're really strong. It's a bit of a hard force here. So I think this is really interesting from Fnatic because I remember this play. So let's kind of backtrack. Let's backtrack. Do we get the replay here? No. Okay. So let's kind of like look at the wave state right now, or the map for G2. So G2 can't actually play for anything, right? Tier 2 towers are pretty much all they can do, right? Or you can try and steal enemy jungle camps, okay? So they have Ornn bot, and they also know that the Gangplank is top. Wait, let me just backtrack a little bit so I can figure out what information they do have. So they haven't seen the bot lane yet, but Ornn feels pretty confident he can just push that one out. And they know, okay, so they do see where the center and the Thresh are. They don't know where the Lucian is. The Lucian's just going to rotate around to bot, catch that wave, okay? So G2's like, well, we don't give a fuck about bot side because all the camps, the enemy camps, are top side. So like they could be looking at a red buff right now. They could be looking at this. They could also be looking to defend their top tower. Either way, Gangplank is kind of like a prime target. And because these two are forced to defend this wave, there's actually pretty easy access for G2 to go through the jungle and try and cut Gangplank off. So right now, G2's just trying to be proactive, right? Reclaim some vision control, and they recognize, okay, the GP's still there. He's still a little bit overextended. Can we look for a play here, right? And then again, they're just trying to steal away camps. So like it's a bit of back and forth. And so it's like, hey, look, we can actually steal this one away. If you push in top, we can steal away the red buff. We're all good, right? So you'll notice that Ornn has already rotated from bot after shoving that wave all the way in, up into mid lane. The Lucian's stuck here, catching the wave. Gangplank is reset. Gragas is here, forced out of his own jungle. Okay, so the interesting part here is how G2 used the Rift Herald, because this is going to catch up and time with the wave that's going to arrive so they can threaten this tower. Someone is going to try and defend this tower, and then G2 is going to look to try and punish them. Well, if Fnatic try to defend the tower, they can punish them. Right? So, again, they push in mid, they rotate up through the enemy jungle, and the goal here could just be to take away the red buff, right? Because again, there's no real objectives. 2 minutes until the Ocean Drake. Baron's not even alive yet. There's no added towers left. G2's just like, hey, we have a Rift Herald, let's see where we can use it, right? So they're trying to get every small advantage that they can, deny the red buff from Reckless, but then you'll notice that Bwipo here is overextended, and they're like, fuck the red buff, let's go get a kill. Okay, so they pivot. Fnatic also see this play coming. Jankos waits for the oranges to be used, and then they get this initial kill. Now, the Gangplank ult also comes out, right? But notice that he actually throws it onto the minion wave, okay? This is like pretty smart thinking from Bwipo, because he knows that he's going to die here because he doesn't have flash. And he also knows that G2, after having a numbers advantage, Ornn is going to push in mid. He can then rotate up to top, or G2, after pushing in that wave, can rotate to bot. So by killing the minion wave, G2's ability to push in top suddenly gets heavily mitigated, right? So, quick thinking, very good play. I like it. But what G2's thinking here is that Fnatic should back off. We just killed a player. We have a numbers advantage, right? But they don't. So Mickey walks forward, he gets engaged on, and then look, he's actually taking so much damage along with... Wait, let's just watch perks here. Watch perks. Only watch perks. Holy shit, man. So Gangplank ultimate. He even lands a barrel onto perks, and then perks get hit by the center ultimate. So perks doesn't even do anything in the fight, and he just loses all his HP. GP ulti. Broken. So broken. So GP, after dying, nearly single-handedly kills perks. Okay? Alright? So that's one of the big things. So like, even though Bwipo dies here, like, props to Bwipo. I think he played this insanely well. Like, he literally did everything that he possibly could. Really insane. So now all the G2 members are... G2's thinking like, hey, we just got a kill. We have numbers advantage. This is great for us. And Fnatic's thinking they only have half their health. We can actually fight this. So the hook comes through, and they're like, there's no way they can defend the Braum. They're forced to disengage, and Top is like, we can chase. Of course we can chase. Ornn now makes his way up, but then Nemesis can TP. So Wonder then gets hooked. Jankos dies. Wonder dies. And now Fnatic could even think about a Baron if they wanted to, because Gangplank is up in 10 seconds. But then Reckless dies, because Caps is, you know, Capsy Caps. He's sneaky. He's a sneaky devil. Pushes in mid-wave as well. So, denies the potential Baron attempt from Fnatic. But this is a great fight for Fnatic because it kind of slows the momentum of G2 down. But you can kind of see, like... So this is the thing that makes me question why people thought this was a low-quality game. Because, like... So far, what we've seen, I think, was, like, good decision-making, good lane assignments. Overall, like, both teams playing towards their win conditions. Like, Nemesis did get punished a lot in the early game, but I think a lot of that was how G2 set up the early laning phase and like their plan going into it and how, the draft that they had versus Fnatic. And again, you could criticize like, hey, maybe Bwipo overextended there, but even in that situation, notice how much Bwipo did for his team and how Fnatic was then able to capitalize off it. So like, I was surprised when a lot of people were saying that this was a low quality game. I thought that at least for the first 20 minutes, this has been really good. And I think I really liked what G2 did here. I think the idea was promising, and I think that if it wasn't for Bwipo being on Gangplank, this actually could have been a huge play that could have broken open the base for G2, because they could have then made a play for the tier 2 tower. And like, what I also think is really impressive about this is so many teams at this point would just kind of be wandering around, I feel, right? At this point in the game, it's very difficult to know what to do, because when you've taken all these outer towers, there's no Drake alive. The Baron isn't even alive yet. Like, it's difficult to know what to play for, and you can't just play for these towers because they're a lot harder to siege. So I think that finding ways to kind of make plays like this is what I think is a good demonstration of what a good team is. And then I also think that the way in which individually Fnatic was able to outplay G2 is a good representation of the skill that exists on Fnatic. So that's why, like, I got a little bit confused as to why a lot of people, like, I don't think I think the quality of the series overall, you can definitely pick holes. Like, I think earlier games were very messy, but this game 5, I thought was actually really good. And we'll get to talk a little bit more about it. Maybe there was more a little bit later on that people were more critical of. Anyway, moving forward. So, after all these shenanigans, Drake is now up because a lot of time has passed. Fnatic are already first on the objective. We didn't quite get to see how, but remember that Nemesis did push that wave all the way in, so it probably would have crashed, started to bounce back, and now this wave is kind of in a pretty neutral spot. Both teams probably contested over mid prio. That wave looks currently dead. Meanwhile, Fnatic caps with his wave up top lane, pushes this one out, and then he also has TP, so he can just stay up here as long as he wants, really. There's also a little control ward that he can TP to right here, which then gives him access to the flank. So Hilly, Nemesis, they're setting up. They're utilizing the Ocean Drake Bush to try and find a pick. Good exhaust comes down onto Nemesis. TP comes out from Caps. Really bold TP. And the GP ultimate, again, acting like huge interference. Look at how his zones perks away, and Mickey's forced to play defensively. So a couple ultimates burnt. Caps lost his flash and the TP as well. Ooh, Reckless. Very, very close hit. Damn, it's a bit of a wild fight here. Bit of a crazy one. Because it's Fnatic that initiate, and initially it's fine because they don't actually burn any ultimates. They don't burn anything, and they get the exhaust out from Mickey, and they force him to disengage. But then they use the GP ultimate, yeah. And they also get the flash out from Caps. But Reckless then splits off a little bit, and this is where things get a little bit chaotic, I think, because Fnatic, initially you can see that G2 are the ones that are split up, which is bad for G2, really good for Fnatic because they're staying as a group. Oh, didn't mean to do that. But then it's Fnatic that splits up because it looks like that some of them want to go down to the Drake, but Reckless doesn't feel safe going that way, which I think is a bit of a mistake. He should have just stayed with Bupper and Nemesis here, and instead he goes around and Caps, and Jankos are just like, hello, I see you. I wish to kill you. Die. Didn't Caps W out? No, he flashed. Look. Insta flash. That is an insta flash right there. He was like, nope. That's a good play from Hylissang to try and stop him. See, because the thing is, if Caps had used his W, he would have died. Because Hilly with the big brain. Because he flays. See the flay? Because the flay would have dragged Caps out of the W. And that would have killed him. So flash was the correct play from Caps. He respected Hilly there. So now Gangplank's a bit of an awkward spot. Of course, very tanky at this point in the game. So now G2 have control over the Drake. And now they're looking to contest for this one. So let's kind of like take stock of the situation though. 4 ultimates are up for Fnatic. No ult. So they still have Braum ult. So LeBlanc ult is going to be up soon. And they have the Braum ult. So it's actually not a terrible fight initially. But let's see how this one plays out. Oh, wait, I think I remember this fight. So Wonder, man, this was really unfortunate. So Wonder gets such a good ultimate off. But he misses the wall. If he flashes E's here, that's a triple knockup and Caps can kill them all. P messes up. And then he puts himself in an awkward spot. And then the Mickey ultimate doesn't do anything either. Yeah. Man, that's so unfortunate for Wonder. That could have been huge. Execution error there, I feel. And then Selfmade steals away the Drake as well. Whew. Yeah. But like that's one of those things where I'm like, that could happen to anyone, you know. That was literally just a small blunder. This fight could have been so different. Oh man, that probably pissed Wonder off. That was such a huge ult. And then Mickey's ult doesn't hit anything, does it? Yeah, damn. Imagine though if Mickey flashes in. But actually, again, a really good demonstration of why Bubba was good at Gangplank. Look at this barrel right here. Respect to G2 as well. They all see what's coming, so they immediately path that way. Not only to pull the Drake out, but they were like, barrel. Look at that. Whoa, they're all just like, ugh. And then the... actually, did the Gragas ultimate save them? Oh no, Mickey blocks it. Actually, that does save Mickey though. And it also forces G2 away from... oh, actually, thinking about it, it probably, because of that Gragas barrel, it probably would have been a lot harder to follow up on that engage there. And then Caps using his W quite early. Maybe it wouldn't have actually been that different of a fight, even if Wonder lands that knockup. Probably not. Then Mickey's ultimate goes pretty wide. Yep. Wonder dies. Such a good steal from Selfmade. E into Smite. Boom. Try to get a couple kills. Oh, the heal from Reckless as well. See, I thought these fights were like so insane. Because like it's such small stuff. Both teams just barely outplaying each other. But you can like this. So this, again, kind of like why I sat there and thought this game in particular was really insane. Because to me, it felt like both teams were just like super in it. You know what I mean? you know when you're like hella focused and you're like you're feeling it, you know what I mean? You're just feeling it. You're in the zone. You're like, I'm on it. I'm landing every skill shot. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm super aware. To me, that's what everyone was at this game. You know, everyone was just on it. That's what it felt like to me. That's why I thought it was such a great game. I mean, like, again, like, Wonder fucks up here, right? Which sucks. But then the barrels. Yeah, someone in chat highlighted that Jankos actually didn't even have Smite yet. So I'm, like, praising Selfmade, but it was actually impossible for Jankos to win that Smite fight. When did he use Smite? Did he use it earlier? No, it just was off cooldown. Oh, wait, no, he does have it here. Oh, he uses it on Reckless? Good notes, Twitch chat. Oh, he uses it on Gangplank. Okay. Good spot, Twitch chat. Good spot. Yeah, I didn't notice that. I think I noticed it in the cast, though. Or Ender did. I think Ender might have. Still, good steal from Selfmade. Boom. Bro, this heal is so clutch from Reckless. Boom. Ultimate comes through as well. And then just barely G2's able to get out. Like, that's so insane. That was such an insane team fight. So insane. Man, this game was so fun. I love this game. This was such a good game in my opinion. Oh. I'm like, such a good game. Wow, really high level performance. You know, like this is probably like peak League of Legends. You know what? Fuck. Thank you, Caps. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. All right, let's have a look. So, Zor. Item wise, Senna is now much closer to like God status. Lucian is getting there. Gangplank getting there. Ornn is already at God status. Void Staff early coming out from LeBlanc. I think against... The thing is, I think the only MR that really exists is this. So I debate if Void Staff was actually the better. Maybe because he assumed that he always had to lane against the Lucian, which... Fair, but... Yeah, I think that if his target is to kill the Senna or anyone else, there's like barely any magic resistance, so I actually don't know how much value you're getting out of the Void Staff early there. Phantom Dancer coming through. Also actually delays the spike from perks, because normally you want Runans, but he actually feels not safe, it seems. Even with a Braum. Caps looks for a pick. Doesn't find it. Anyway, so Drake is in 3 minutes. Baron is alive. Fnatic's probably just going to sit and farm and scale. Let's see what G2 do. Because again, remember, the pressure's on them to do something. And notice that Fnatic's only gotten one tower, which is the bot one. So like, it's interesting how Fnatic have actually had to constantly play on the defense. And the fact that they've been able to get do Drakes at all, I think is a credit to them and how they've been able to play this one out. Caps getting some information. G2 want to try and steal away this red buff. I should have tracked how many red buffs actually went over in favor of G2. I think it may have only been 2. But they've made Selfmade's life really difficult. They've tried to anyway, and he's still been able to actually stay very relevant in this game, even as an XP lead. So good job by Fnatic, in my opinion. So here, Caps is just utilizing the mobility of LeBlanc to get rid of info. Yeah. One hovering around mid. So G2 kind of doing the same play that they did earlier. Interestingly, they've abandoned bot for now. They're going to send Ornn back there, though, as the bot lane resets. Fnatic now moving to mid. Fnatic can eye up that mid tier 1, but they don't want to overcommit. So right now it's just a lot of ping pong, you know. This is a situation where if a team saw an opportunity, they would try and set up a freeze. Pardon me. However, G2's not the team that really likes to freeze, because Having spoken to multiple members, they constantly believe that you just have to know how to punish a freeze, and that's what they like to do. And usually the players group force. Caps is kind of a one-man army here, though. Wow, okay. So the problem for Caps is he doesn't have his sweeper up, nor does he actually have pressure anywhere. He knows where the center is. And he also sees the Lucian, because the Lucian just cleared out a top wave. But I don't think he has information on the Thresh. So he thinks that he's sneaking in, but he's not at all. Actually gets caught out. And then a really good punish from Self-Made and Reckless. GP ultimate comes through, and this then forces G2 to immediately play on the defensive, giving Fnatic so much vision around Baron. So again, like a small mistake there. Gives more time for Fnatic to scale up. Nemesis gets a little bit more farm, XP. Caps is delayed even further. That's a pretty big mistake, actually. Really big. And kind of like G2 has to then reset to 0 again. Now the Drake spawns in 45, so all this vision that Fnatic have just put down, they now want to reset, restock up. And now you can see like the big items have come through, you know. 3 fully completed items for the Senna, 2 completed for the Lucian, 2 completed for GP. Like Fnatic's now, hey, we're strong, we're feeling good, we're ready. Like we can more than happily contest this next Drake. And this is where shit gets really interesting. Because G2 is now at like an item disadvantage. Like Ornn is really strong, but the carries aren't. They can't match the damage. So G2 have to get sneaky. That's exactly what they do. They use the Fnatic Death Brush on Fnatic. So let's kind of like follow what G2 do here. So first of all, remember that they've reset first because Fnatic just got a kill. So the moment Fnatic dies, because G2 have like maintained pressure pretty much everywhere. So again, like Fnatic had to commit 4 people topside in order to get that kill onto Caps. So bot wave is pushing in, right? Mid wave is pushing in. And so immediately G2's like, okay, reset. So Fnatic have to clear out mid, clear out bot. And then they're also getting vision around Baron. They're clearing out all the vision that G2 just got around Baron, right? So Fnatic have reset, G2 have reset, they're now back out on the map first, okay? So right now, Fnatic have absolutely 0 wards around Drake. We can see that highlighted in the vision difference. And so G2 is like, okay, fine, we'll sweep out some of the vision here because we already know that we've swept out bot, but Ashe is actually back in time where she can push out mid and Gangplank can push out a bot. Caps returns to top lane because he knows he has TP. And so honestly, this is actually a bit of a mistake. I've got to check, do they have a Farsight? They do, they have a Farsight on GP. So I think Fnatic here, they have to be like super careful because the Drake's not even alive yet. And they're actually just face checking. For no reason. So they actually get punished. It's a good pick for G2. The Gangplank ultimate is just about to come up. And Fnatic's kind of like threatening a Baron here. But it doesn't matter because the Ashe can just solo it. She's like at that point. So, you can see small mistakes coming out from both teams. Both teams also very good at punishing. You know, Fnatic really didn't need to face check that there. They did have the Farsight that they could have used to check what was going on, but you know the Drake hasn't been started yet, so they shouldn't be worried about that. Using Thresh to face check is the correct person because he is kind of your tankiest member. But like, did you have to face check that way? Maybe you go behind the wall. Maybe you throw a ward over. Dunno. Not entirely sure why they didn't here, but hey ho, they kind of face checked. So Gangplank pushes out bot. Caps pushes out top. He doesn't overextend because you know he doesn't have vision. There's a little greedy from the GP, but he does have quite a lot of information. Caps is going to catch that wave bot now because Wonder doesn't need more gold. He's already very strong. But for a Nemesis, they're okay here because they see Caps bot and they also see the Ornn mid, so they're not too worried about it. Arrow comes through, interrupts onto Nemesis. They're looking for that kill. They force the flash out, which is pretty good because that's not going to be up for the next fight, which is happening around the Drake. But again, like Fnatic is just slowly ramping up and getting stronger and stronger. So again, this game gets harder and harder. The Ornn items are also really delayed because again, you didn't go for a death cap early. The Infinity Edge now has been upgraded because it's now come through for perks. But imagine if he has Runaan's here. I think he just overall has a lot more damage, at least in team fights. So now the vision game and wave control. So bear in mind, like in terms of map control, G2 have, like, you know how in football or rugby or any sports, like they talk about how like past the halfway line, it's kind of like a demonstration of how much control a team has had over the ball. G2 in this situation would have spent more of this game on the enemy side of the pitch. Like, they still have their mid-tier 1 and we're 30 minutes into the game, right? And, like, G2 have done such a great job of just keeping minion waves pushed all the time and kind of, like, stealing away so many jungle camps from Self-Made and trying to make his life as awkward and difficult as possible. But, like, a couple of small mistakes, like the teamfight top lane where Gangplank doesn't die as quickly as they want, the death onto caps, these small mistakes from G2 have actually allowed Fnatic to keep buying time, keep waiting, and then they don't overforce anything. They only take fights that they know they can win, and their first big mistake was, of course, this phase check. So now the Drake's pretty even. Fnatic are also still fine with this, though, because, again, like, the longer this game goes on, the better it is for them, and, you know, they're fine with this. So at this point, in both games, in this series, the game would already be over. So the fact that it's this close, I think it was pretty crazy. So Deathcap comes in for Caps, which is like a huge item spike. It's also already, as he's level 16 now as well, which is also really big. He also has the Death Crown. So, like, now Caps is feeling himself, right? He's like, okay, this is the shit. I'm a real wizard now. And no one's going to fuck with me. XP is relatively even across both sides. Self-Made has a slight level advantage, but, like, that arrow missing is really bad. I'm actually, who are they aiming here for? Oh, they try to catch the Gragas. But he does have Zhonya's. Even if his Zhonya's is there, though, he probably dies. So G2 kind of forcing pressure over the Drake. Caps looking for picks. So I do want to highlight some of the vision that Fnatic have. So the thing they have to be really careful about is a Caps flank. So they have a lot of wards here, and they have this ward here, which is really important because it stops Caps from, like, jumping over walls, one-shotting someone, and then darting back. Pardon me, this vision's really important against the LeBlanc. So the thing is, when you get to a certain point in the game, right, where having control over the Drake... So actually, no. I'm talking to my ass. 1 second. Drake fights are really interesting because depending on the comp that you have, some comps are very good at that. Once they're at the Drake, it becomes very difficult to engage on them, right? So Azir Senna is a really good example of a duo that once they're on the Drake, right? Once they're here, it becomes very difficult to siege onto the Drake. So they want to be on the objective first because it's easy for them to play. Now, it's a lot harder for an Azir and a Senna to be able to engage onto the Drake because they obviously want people to come to them because they're very long range and they have strong disengage tools. So when we kind of look at these two comps, G2 love it when people come to them. Braum's life gets easier. Ashe doesn't really have to do much work. She can keep you at arm's length with her slows. The Ornn and the Set, their lives get easier as well because they can just throw you back out, right? Like, they're pretty happy. The thing that changes all this is the Gangplank ultimate. Because the Gangplank ultimate immediately, especially in a choke point, like this isn't really a choke point, you know what I mean? This is the river. The Gangplank can, like, force teams to split up and give opportunities for the re-engage to happen. But in this fight, that's not super relevant. I just kind of wanted to highlight that. What is super relevant is, like, how Caps plays this fight and what his goal is. Because remember that Caps, what he wants to do is just constantly looking for poke and picks. So he's kind of, like, doubting in and out. You can see he gets a bit of damage down to Nemesis. Clearing out some of this vision. Dashes in, gets a bit of poke. And so he sees Gangplank here, but, like, he ends up getting chunked out. Like, massively. He gets crit twice by the GP, I'm pretty sure. Look, crit 1, 259, crit 2, 330. And then he gets hit by a barrel. Now, Bwipo nearly kills himself here, flashing for this. Yeah, he does. But Wonder misses another E knockup, but also Perks and Yankos are, like, down here. There's no way they can commit to this fight, especially with Caps in such low HP. So, like, the moment Caps gets chunked out, this fight is, like, pretty doomed for G2. Alright. So they die. Wonder's going to try and buy time for the team as they run away, but they're not going to be able to escape. This ends up being a full ace, and then Fnatic can obviously convert this into a Baron. So Caps kind of messed up that fight there. Like, we've already seen Caps make a couple of small mistakes. But Fnatic at this point is like, we can end the game, okay? And this is where, obviously, Jankos comes up clutch. So Fnatic, I think the correct play for Fnatic here is to just get Baron, because I think that they already outscale, but they're like, hey, we can probably win this. The only person that's going to respawn is Jankos. And so I understand why they make this decision. And the fact that he kills that whole wave is insane. Let's watch this in real time. So he grabs the center, which isn't the best target. He ideally wants to grab a tank, but, well, he doesn't want to grab Whippo. No, he doesn't want to grab Whippo, because Whippo can orange out. I think he wants to grab the Gragas here, or the Thresh. But in any case, he jumps in. That ultimate does lots of damage, kills a lot of minions, right? He E's all the minions together, W's them, and just before he dies, he smites as well. Kills the minions, stops Fnatic Siege. It's so insane. Keeps the game alive for G2. This is why this game was so insane. I don't know. Anyone saying that, like, this is worrying for Europe, I think is trolling. And then Caps actually ends again. Alright, so Caps actually made a huge number of mistakes in this game. We're at 3 now. And this means that Fnatic can easily do Baron. Easily. If Caps lives, doing Baron suddenly becomes a lot harder. But because he's dead... Alright, so we're just going to see the fight again. Really good use of the Gangplank ultimate to split teams up. Perks is like, I'm going to focus the Drake. Fnatic's like, we're going to kill Caps. Good flank from Selfmade as well. Really good use of the Zhonyas, I think. Really good use of the Zhonyas. Because he kind of baits G2 in here. Because again, like, look, Wonder did not land a lot of knockups this game. I definitely think that Fnatic are playing individually much better this game than G2 are. So they now have the Baron. And this is where we get to see another insane G2 play. So, Caps knows that this ward isn't here, okay? Alright, let's start by looking at the main 4. Let's slow this down a little bit. Because actually live, I couldn't even see exactly what happened. Like, this was just so fast. So, Whippo gets close. He's setting up his barrels. Tries to land a crit. Okay, wow. Whippo just overextends just a tiny bit, and Perks is like, I'ma kill you. Look at this. Bubba-bum, 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 bubba-bum. Whippo gets knocked up. Bubba-bum, bubba-bum. But look at how quickly Whippo just melts to this Ashe. Holy insane. Mickey also immediately follows up. They're just like, go, go, go. GP, 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 GP. Oh, because that Lucian is also overextended here. Look, look, look. Lucian's like, I'm going to get hit, and then the Lantern. Which means that Whippo doesn't get it. So now he's awkwardly placed. Meanwhile, the Ornn ultimate comes through, and then Caps is like, goodbye. Oh, wait. Wait. Selfmade. So he sees Caps. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Actually, no, it doesn't matter. I thought he was trying to do a second W. But he wasn't. He was literally just Q, R, E, and then he dies. And then he teleports back over. And then the chase comes through. Boom. Of course, G2 still lose a lot of health here, so they can't quite commit to this. They've already used all their tools, so they can't quite commit to the chase, but they stop the Fnatic push. Really insane. Perks smurfed that fight. Giga smurfed that fight, in fact. Ashe late game. Really insane. And now G2 get a bunch of farm and a bunch of XP, which they really needed. Boom, boom, boom. I don't know if killing Gragas was the best call here. Maybe you should have gone for the center. Actually, no. I don't even know how you get to the center. It's pretty impossible. But they get rid of the Fnatic Baron, basically, and they get to stall for next Drake, which could be Soul for them. Like, that's a problem with Caps, right? While he does throw sometimes, he's also, like, giga insane. So here they just kind of have to go for a steal. And this is where I think... Yeah. This This is what I would have done if I was Caps. I would have tried to QRE, steal it away. But they couldn't. Gets pulled out. G2's not in a good position right now. Alright, so it comes down to the final Drake, final fight, final everything. So again, this should be harder for G2 to win at this point. With double AD carry, both pretty much full build. GP with Leandries. But of course G2 have ornaments. The problem is that Gragas is so much more valuable than Set is at this point in the game. Set, like, is so useless. He just has his ult and he just soaks up damage, but he doesn't do anything. Whereas Gragas can literally one-shot Ashe. Yeah. But, well, maybe not one-shot the Ashe, but he's level 16. Gragas has so much damage, even though he's not full AP. Fnatic just kind of pushing out the waves right now. I don't really agree with that Ashe arrow. Obviously, it's a pretty low cooldown, but both teams fighting over vision. It does look like a bit of an ARAM right now, but that's kind of how it has to be, because like all these towers are gone, right? And for G2, they can't get access to their minion waves, so they can't exactly go here. That's why you just saw Caps go top. Because what Fnatic is doing is they're walking the wave in to like this tower, and then they rotate into the jungle. And then what G2 is doing is they're grouping up and they're forcing their way back into mid, and then they're clearing out the jungle. Because they can't do it independently. So once they clear that out, then they can actually send people off into a side lane. But this late into the game, like, ARAMing, like, you kind of just have to stay together. Split pushing is really dangerous. Unless, like, you know, certain situations. So again, notice how like they'll group. They still have LeBlanc bot who has TP, but they'll stay 4 so that they can clear that wave out together. You would never send the Ashe solo because the Ashe will just die. Speaking of, Wonder kind of fucks up here. Yeah, he does. He used W on the wave. I don't really know why either. Forced to use his flash. That GP ultimate's also really fucking huge. Oh, that hook onto the Ashe as well. That, fuck, man. Look at this. Boom, boom. Whoa. Forced to immediately flash. Oh, this fight was like giga insane, actually. Like, this fight is like so good for Fnatic initially. The problem is then they obviously don't have any access to G2. But then this ultimate from Jankos brings the Gragas over. Look at this. So this hook was going to land onto either Caps or Perks from Hylissang, and then the barrel saves both of them. Well, no, actually, Caps teleports back, so he avoids it. But then the Ashe gets knocked out of the way. So he then uses Zonya's. But this positioning is actually way better for G2. Knockup comes through, because Perks now has a whole wall that he can hide behind, and Caps has a perfect flank onto the backline. Boom, boom! Who does he Q? Boom, boom. Wait, doesn't Caps Q him? Boom, boom. Oh my god, I can't believe they didn't just kill everyone there. Oh. That should have just been the end of the game. That actually should have been. Oh, and then the arrow hits, and then, oh. Boom. Oh! So the problem is Set flashes in, but Nemesis still has flash, and then it's crit into, yep, nicely done by Reckless and Nemesis there. So in my opinion, the play here is actually Baron. Yep, they take this tower and then they go straight to Baron. That's what they should have done. It's the safest play and the best play. I understand, though, that Fnatic's like, we have 4 people to their 2. Our Ornn has TP. There's no way we lose. But I really think the Baron was the play here. Obviously, I'm talking in the context of hindsight, though. And it's hard for me to say in the game what I was thinking of. Like, oh, Caps and he just fucking one-shots that Lucian. Boom, boom, boom. And this is where Wonder fucks up. Like, Reckless is doing a really good job of just positioning and just slowly chipping away Ornn, who's tanking the tower as well. They're trying to kill the minions as well. So there's only one caster minion left. They get it. But then the next wave comes through, and then Ornn dies. And with Ornn dead, they actually can't then continue the fight. This is why I think the Baron was the better play. Because you're still against 280 carries. And then, of course, they give up the Baron. Because they just lost Wonder, who also lost his TP. And then Reckless is just being annoying. And then, of course, Drake is going to be up in 45 seconds, which Wonder's not going to be alive for. And then this is where Caps runs it down. So Caps is actually looking for a pick. Which I understand. Trying to catch someone out farming. So he knows where Lucian is here. Well, he doesn't here, but he now knows where Lucian is. And he's like, he hasn't taken a huge amount of damage. And then Kadril pointed this out, right? Watch this. Crit, crit. Caps is like, wait. Bear in mind, right? If we go back to this. This is how much he can do with just a Q and an R. So Caps is like, I can definitely kill Lucian. Q, R, and Nemesis is dead. Like, look at this. Q, R, boom, electrocute. Nemesis can't fight anymore. So you understand why Caps feels that he can win this 1v1, right? It makes sense. Wait, why did Nemesis sell his boots? Wait, he sold his boots so he could buy a red pot? Wait, that's crazy. Maybe he's so rich that he can just... Wait, but isn't that magical footwear? Did he always have that? Am I trolling? Wait, what time are we at? 51:12. Yeah. So when he bought new ones, I guess he just got magical footwear again. That's crazy. Why did you do that? I completely forgot what point in the game I was at. More and elixir, not a red pot. Wait, no, he buys a red pot. No? Look, right there. He sold his lucidity boots to buy red. The red, well, I mean, yes, it's an elixir, but I call it red pot. He upgraded to more. Didn't he have that before? Am I trolling? I thought he already had that. Oh, shit. That's why he sold it, to upgrade to more. Shit, good spot, chat. So he sells that, upgrades to more, and then he buys the red pot. Interesting. Thing is, like, do you think that saved him there? I don't know. Did the shield proc, actually? I didn't see. No, but later. I don't think that saves him here. I don't think it makes a difference. I think Caps dies the moment he tries that. Caps even lands his comment. It's the double crits, man. It's literally the double crits. That's RNG right there. Yep. No, I don't think Caps lost in the game here. Just wasn't very fortunate, because then obviously the dragon gets stolen away too, and Ornn isn't alive for it. So while that's all happening, Fnatic is resetting on the map and immediately setting up for the Drake. Ashe has to catch bot wave. They concede mid wave. They just completely abandon it. They don't give a fuck. And so I want to know how this Ashe gets spotted. Solution's coming down. And then immediately goes back. Immediately. He's literally like, there's probably a ward in our base. Watch out in case they TP backdoor. He doesn't know that Ashe is coming. He actually has no idea. And now he knows, and then the GP ultimate, there's nothing he can do. Yep. Well played. What a banger. It was a great game. I'll TP, he says in comms, I'll TP when I see everyone. I mean, like, it's a smart thing to do. Like, do you know what that is? That's Nemesis having played Fnatic, G2 for the last 2 years. Maybe even 3. I forget when Nemesis joined the league. Nah, it was 2, right? It's 2. Ow. That's someone that's been like, I've seen this shit before. But it's funny because Fnatic have also backdoored. You know, both these teams have won games through backdoors, and they're both sitting there thinking, like, you've seen G2 do the same shit. They're just like, nah, mate, nah. You know, as long as my Nexus is exposed, it's funny because you can see him like, so watch Nemesis here. So he resets, he starts walking out the base, right? And he's like, wait a fucking minute. I've seen this movie before. I've fucking seen this movie before. I saw it in the game too. I did see the Nemesis was, I just didn't say it because I was just like, alright Trev, you do your thing. I didn't want to interrupt him. Haven't seen Reckless that happy in a fucking long time. River Skull? Nah, I'm pretty sure they walk around that. I'm pretty sure it doesn't spot out the Ashe. I'm really confident, actually. Wide people happy. Bro, this game was a banger. Honestly, like, Caps was the one that made the most mistakes out of anyone, in my opinion. I think Caps made like 3 or 4 really crucial mistakes. Because I think G2 needed to try and snowball a little earlier. But the problem is Caps also made some really insane plays that could have won them the game. Wonder also had a couple of execution errors. His Ornn wasn't the best. But yeah, insanely close. I definitely think that this was Fnatic's best game of the series. They played this insanely well. They were like laser focused. They were really tuned in. I think Selfmade obviously got a lot of praise, and I think that earlier on in the series, I felt like Selfmade's impact was higher in earlier series than it was in this one, personally. Maybe I just didn't track Selfmade enough. Maybe there are things that I missed. But yeah, it felt to me that the whole team just played really well from Fnatic. I was most impressed with Bwipo. Like, Bwipo Gangplank, top tier. Really, really fucking good. Really good Gangplank. Such insane awareness. His ults were like really insane every single fight, and like it was really difficult to keep track of his barrels. I thought his Gangplank was really insane. And then of course Selfmade steals a lot of the objectives. I think it's fair. Nemesis mentions how tired they were in Game 5, that they were asleep, so they needed to focus with more calmness. I mean, I can imagine. It's fucking exhausting. Doesn't G2 just end if Caps kills Reckless in the 2 versus 4 instead of going for Nemesis? I mean, maybe, probably. I don't know. It's really difficult to say. I mean, again, I think in that play, G2 just go for Baron. Baron's the safest play. I understand why they didn't, but I think Baron was the best play. Obviously, like, in the moment, when you see an opportunity to end, you go for it, but I think Baron was by far and away the better play. There's no way that Fnatic steal that with LeBlanc. LeBlanc's QRW is stronger than a smite. You won't steal that. So I think that even though Jankos would have been dead, Baron was the play. They had Ashe, they had Braum, they had Ornn. They get they don't play for inhib, they just get Baron. Take that off the map. Maybe they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to get more good fights, but I think if they get Baron, they get a lot of gold. Caps can get a little bit more. Another item maybe. Set can get another item. You know. They can then set up for Ocean Drake a little bit later with Baron dead. They'll be stronger. Blah, blah, blah. I think that was the play, in my opinion. You agree with Leona that G2 should go Leona instead of Braum? I think Braum was fine. I didn't think Braum was a problem. I think that Wonder executed a couple. Like, I think that they should not have given the Gangplank. That's what I think. I understand why they picked Ornn. I think Ornn was a good pick for them, but I think that they should have banned the GP again. But I think GP gave them so many problems. What did they ban? They banned AP junglers. Yeah. The Lucian pick kind of fucked them. Because they were kind of forced into banning AP junglers. They definitely don't want to deal with the Karthus, which I get. But I feel like... Yeah, I think the problem was giving up Gangplank. And I understand why they didn't pick Gangplank. Because if they do pick Gangplank, they get counterpicked. They also don't have a front line. And it's really hard for them to start fights, especially with the Braum. So maybe if they do GP Leona, maybe. But I also think Thresh is really good into Leona, personally. I think it's a pretty weak 2v2 lane bot. And I also don't know how you ever land an ultimate onto, like, anyone. I think Braum just offers more. I think that G2 kind of got put in an awkward position when the Lucian comes through. Because they know what's coming. The moment Lucian gets locked in, they're like, well, fuck. The fact that Fnatic prioritized red side every game, I think, was a really big advantage for them. Because the thing is, if G2 go red, if they choose red... No, Fnatic chose red game 5, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because G2 won the last game. Yeah. So there's nothing they could have done there. But I think what's really interesting is, like, I wonder if priority will shift back to red, because being able to get 2 OPs... Right now, I think there are a lot of OPs, especially with the carry junglers. So you can see, right? Unless you're willing to first pick Eve, which is, like, really fucking risky. Like, G2 is kind of forced to ban the Eve every game. But if they're red side, right? Maybe things change. Maybe they can get themselves the Lucian Eve themselves, you know? Maybe you can first pick Eve. Maybe she's really OP. Don't know. I suppose my question marks come from this. Yeah. Yankus doesn't play Eve? Yeah, I mean, probably not. Set jungler's trash, press level 3? I disagree. He's just kind of a meat shield later on into the game. They had to ban Hecarim because if he gets ahead, he can literally 1v9. I don't think they did. I just think that Fnatic adapted really well in Game 5. I think this is a really difficult draft to play around at this point. Like, this combo is just such a solid foundation, and there's no way that G2 can ban all the AP junglers. I think that G2 is very committed to what they wanted to get. I think Fnatic read them very well. I think they had a good answer. Because, like, G2 and me, on the, like, if you listen to the cast, I'm literally saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Braum Ornn. That's what Ender and I were talking about. Like, Braum Ornn. The only other thing you could have considered is maybe Taric, but... Actually, if they get Taric, like GP, I think becomes a lot weaker. But the problem then is like, I think what this does is it stops this from being able to kill this. Oh, that's a shit arrow. I think the Braum stops Gragas from being able to kill Ashe. I think that Fnatic's comp can't actually, in theory, kill the Ashe. The only reason why Fnatic end up being able to make Ashe's life so difficult is because they get GP. Which is why I'm like, should G2 have sacrificed Engage and should have gone for the GP here? Would that have been the better play? And I understand why they went on. I'm just wondering. And like, again, maybe the draft was never the problem, right? Because G2 were like super close to winning that game. They were actually winning a lot of late game fights. They're just kind of outplaying Fnatic in the 5v5. Yeah, which is why it's difficult for me to say that it was necessarily a draft problem. I don't think G2 lost because of their draft. I think a lot of the main reason why they lost was because of execution errors. I think Caps made a lot of mistakes. I think Wanda made a couple of mistakes. I think Perks played really fucking well, really well. Especially seeing as like I thought that for the most part he was pretty invisible this series. Like his Senna was nowhere near as good as his Ashe. His Ashe is really insane. Really, really, really insane. I think the big question mark is like, I think we need to see a little bit more from Jankos because he pretty much only played set this series. I think he really needs to expand his pool to be able to compete with Selfmade. Because right now it feels like Selfmade can play every jungler. Whereas Jankos seems to be a little bit gated. But I'm obviously basing a lot of my opinions off of only Game 5, and I've kind of forgotten the rest. Remember that G2 should have won Game 3. So. Alright, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. If you watch this on the YouTube, it's going to stop the recording now. You can be sure to check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/Freddy'sOfficial. You can also follow my other socials, which I would really appreciate, because I need people to acknowledge and love me. In other news, I'm now going to go chill out. Thanks for this. It was a lot of fun. Great game. Going to stop recording now. Love you. Bye.